and I want to bring this up. I had several vehicles basically in the shop that I had to spend several $1,000s on. That after I found out what the fix was, I could have done it better myself. And these are supposed to be professionals that know how to fix cars, that specialize in certain vehicles. So I tell them, hey, this is what's going on with it. They look at me like I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'll look this up on the internet. But then after they fix something, charge me a ton of money, didn't fix my issue. And I'm like, hey, why don't you try doing what I told you to? And they're like, oh yeah, you were right. But before they were talking to me like an idiot. You just have this, I feel like this American attitude where everyone's worried about keeping their comfortable spot. And as an American, you should be thankful and be blessed for what you have. But you also have to realize that just because you're one of the luckiest people on the planet does not mean that you can just keep everybody else out. And I feel like that's what happened with the apprenticeships. And you're seeing that now where so many people that got college degrees, they got these educations that they can't do anything with because everyone was told, especially in the minority communities, go get your degree so you can be something. Part of that is because nobody knew about apprenticeships, or they just assumed it was still like their generation where we couldn't get apprenticeships. Didn't matter how hard we tried, didn't matter where we looked. No, just you can't have that. And that's why you see so many, I feel like, car mechanics and people that actually run construction, unless they're running their own business. That's why you see so many of them, and they're just so, I don't want to necessarily make it a race thing, but it's just people who have gotten so comfortable with doing very little. And you see that with the current administration, where you have these billionaires that are running the show. And for what? They didn't really do anything to earn it. They got lucky. They didn't work any harder than 90% of Americans. They just stole where they could and held people back where they could. And that's why you're seeing this shortage here. And you have people like Elon Musk, who was so smart in how he did it. I mean, I shouldn't say like call him a genius or anything, but he knew exactly what he was doing when he backed Trump. He knew that he'd get a position in power, that he'd have the upcoming president's ear. But then he could really, after using these voters to get his man in office, he can finally do what he wants to do. He wants a space program. He wants to get people from India, people from China that are actually working, like good at what they do, and bring them over here. And then you have the people that were like, I thought that's why I voted for Trump, to keep them out. No, it was never about you. They just wanted to use you for your vote. And here we are. So saying all that to say, it's just, it's a tough situation, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize how we got here. And then going back to your point, we're just kind of stuck where you still have the people that are in positions of power. They don't want to let these people in. But to stay successful and to keep your business going, you're going to have to do that. So you either need to work harder, or you need to just let people who are better than you just take that spot. That's capitalism. That's America.
I mean, I appreciate everything you were saying, and a couple of times, I don't know if you noticed, I was kind of grinning on the verge of laughing, because it's so obvious that it's almost funny. But then it's not funny, because I think about how negatively it has the potential to impact our community. And when I say community, I mean global community.
Yep.
But I do want to push back on one of the things you said, because it's a very small thing, but as an educator, it's really important to me. Mm-hmm. When you said that you felt like some of the maneuvering was smart, I would prefer we substitute the word slick.
Yeah.
Because words have power.
Yeah.
And I think that really a smart thing to do is what you said towards the end of your statement, right, which was look at everybody and figure out how what we call the buses seats on the bus, right? So your seat on the bus, in my humble opinion, should be based on the talent or the work ethic or whatever it is you can bring to the table, not what you look like. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like, there's a really, I guess it's a really popular movie now. It's called The 688, and Tyler Perry produced the movie. It's got some really strong stars in it. But long story short, the movie is about a troupe all female, all African American troop. Um, that I want to say was World War II, but if you know
Yeah.
differently, please correct me. Um, and this troop was basically going to be doing, I think one of the moms who was sending her daughter off was saying, well, all they're going to let you do is cook and clean anyway. You can stay home and do that. Well, none of these people in this troop had any expectation of like going overseas or actually seeing battle or anything like that. But they had this really strong leader who was played by Kerry Washington. And as it turns out, there was you have to see the movie, but again, long story short, um, these women found themselves overseas
Mm-hmm.
trying to do what seemed like an impossible task at the time.
Right.
I don't want to give too much away, but in the end, they ended up being able to accomplish much more than anyone thought they could, including themselves when they went into the situation. Why is that important? Like why how is that relevant to what we're talking about? Because again, we were dividing people by gender, by ethnicity, by all these different really these different factors that should not have made a difference.
Right.
If you notice throughout the course of history, which again is one of the reasons I think just knowing history is so important. Not necessarily studying history, but at least having some cognizance of
Yeah.
this is how we got where we are.